All right, sounds great. Well, thank you everybody for taking the time this afternoon to join us on this. I hope it's really worthwhile for you. So Jessica gave you some overview information already. When I do these things, what I try to do is make it so that it's very clear kind of what I hope you get from it. And so as you leave, I hope that you come away with basically two ideas. The first is that reliable access to technology facilitates participation in all sorts of activities. If you're coming to this webinar, you probably already know that, but I guess what I'm really trying to make the point about is the idea of reliable. That's often where we fail when we implement assistive technology, is that we come up with something that works in some situations, but not all situations, or something that is really hard to figure out how to set up, and then people can't figure out how to do it reliably, and then in that case technology often doesn't do well. So what when we take the time to really put something together that's reliable, at that point I think we have really given people a tool that they can integrate into their lives. Well, how do you do that? And one way of doing that is through redundancy. So I'm going to talk a lot, and this is kind of my mantra lately. Historically, when we went through and evaluated people for assistive technology, what we would do is look for what's the best way for someone to be able to access something. And then we would pick that best way, and then we would just beat it like a dog. I mean, we would just go through and really make people use that access method for everything. And what I'm advocating is that what we're finding in our research and what we're finding with the people that we work with is that when we can go through and give people multiple access methods, then what happens is that when one thing isn't working well. So if you use speech recognition, that's great. But when your speech starts to fail, then the only way for you to correct things is through speech, and so it kind of spirals out of control. And if you can give people a second way and use two technologies in conjunction, you've really done a lot to help with reliability. So those are the two things that we're going to kind of beat up over the next 45 minutes or so. The folks at Enablemart asked me to put together some objectives for the presentation, and I just want to be real upfront about those as well. One thing that we said we were going to talk about is how to select alternate computer access methods. And the strategy that I use and that we promote and that the people that I do research promote is to first start out with what's most normal. So what that means is that if you can use your hand with some support, then you want to start there. If with some support you can use your foot, then that's what you want to do. Then you want to move to head. Then you want to move to eyes. You don't want to go to those more sophisticated access methods until you really have to, because we use our head and our eyes for so many different things. And so if you can use your hand, then what happens is it still allows you to use your head to be able to move around, right, and to see what's going on, and use your eyes to be able to scan the screen. When we use eye tracking and head tracking, we get away from those things. And so start with most normal and then work your way up to if you only have eye movement, then that's all you got, right? Efficiency is really important, and so a lot of times we'll work with people who will use scanning access methods because it's relatively easy to set up. You just have to find a switch site and you go from there. But it takes longer. It's usually more work for people, and by the time they're done, we've kind of worn them out. So be careful there. And then redundancy equals reliability, which we've already talked about a little bit, but this is especially true when we combine low-tech techniques with high-tech techniques. Then we've really helped people to be able to use their devices. We're also going to do a comparison of head tracking technologies. So we're going to talk about single dot and 3-dot tracking systems, and we're going to look at performance, portability, and cost. We're going to compare speech recognition technologies and look at things like Dragon Naturally Speaking, which is a wonderful product that I use a lot with people. But then we're also going to look at some new speech recognition technology for people that have very poor speech, and we'll go through that. And then I'm going to share with you some our latest technology, a safe laser system that has some subtle differences between it and other types of technologies that just make a really big difference. And so I'm excited to be able to show you that as well. All right, so Jessica gave you a very nice overview. We've been doing this a long time. We really specialize in people with severe disabilities. We collaborate with a wide range of people, and that's really important because I'm an engineer, but I work with speech-language pathologists who specialize in acquired disabilities, speech-language pathologists who specialize in early childhood development, and so because of that we have a broader range of expertise than you would normally get with an engineer. The other thing that happens is that through our nonprofit and through programs that we've had for people in our community, we presently support about 24 people with severe disabilities, including 3 people with brainstem strokes. So you're not getting just a theoretical understanding. I mean, we've implemented these things, and so I hope that'll make a difference to you as you listen and as we go through this process. Our products are available through Enablemart, so they're easy to work with. We work very well with them. You are always welcome to either call your Enablemart salesperson if you have a question, or if you get a device and you're having trouble, we never mind technical support questions. I actually know things are being used when people are calling and asking questions, and so that's always a good thing. 2 quick definitions. We're going to talk a little bit about, we're assistive technology engineers, AT engineers. And assistive technology is a broad field, but today we're specifically talking about technology for computer access. And then we'll also talk a little bit about augmentative and alternative communication, AAC. And that's communication for people who are unable to use their speech to communicate. So how do we augment what they have? How do we find an alternate communication path? And so that's what those 2 little mnemonics mean. When we talk about InvoTek's research areas, we've worked in access, we've worked in interface software, and we always work closely with clinical people. So I just wanted you to have a sense of what things we've done in the past. Often when I present with somebody who has a clinical background or has a case management background. And the list that you see on your screen is a list that was put together by a case management person for some of the people that we've worked with together. And I just wanted you to kind of have a sense of the fact that assistive technology really can have a huge impact on what someone thinks is possible in their life. Lately we've been doing more work with people with acquired disabilities, and the opportunity to say, wait a minute, I can actually do something, really addresses a wide range of problems, and so I want you to know that. The other side here is that I really believe there are some very significant life benefits of assistive technology. All of us, whether we have a disability or not, it's really important for us to have a social closeness with our family and friends, to have the opportunity to learn, to have the opportunity to give back, to use the gifts that we have to make a difference in other people's lives. And people need to be able to advocate for themselves. In order for them to be able to do those kind of things, it's really important that they have an efficient and socially acceptable means for connecting to the world. One of the really cool things that's going on right now is that as we move into this age of texting and email and everything else, it really separates people's disability from their ability to communicate in a way that allows them to participate fully. The fact that you can text quickly and send a 10-word text in 10 seconds, that's great. But if it takes someone a minute to do that same thing, it really isn't an impact on the social acceptability of their communication, and that has some really significant benefits. So assistive technology in a lot of ways, particularly when we do things that are computer-based, all of a sudden it's really mitigating the effects of disability because it allows people to participate in activities and events on equal footing. And so I think that's a really important thing. I want to show you 2 quick videos, and I'm going to play the audio through my microphone, and so we'll see what happens. The first one is a story. This is a kid that I met at Arkansas Children's Hospital. He was 15 years old. He was a huge guy. He was 6'6". He was a football player. He collapsed on the field. He had a brainstem infection. They rushed him to the hospital. He was in a rural area, so it's about 200 miles to the hospital. And when he finally came out of his coma and everything else, he's been on a ventilator. He's still on a ventilator. And he came to me and he said that he wanted to go to high school. And so this is the very first time that I met him. It is the first time that he's ever used head tracking technology. And I want you to see, just pay attention to the look on his face and just the whole sense of hope and the people around him as well. I'm going to switch my audio here. All right, and here we go. I hope this works. All right, engineer messed up. If you don't turn up the audio, you're not going to get anything. Hold on, here we go. So I hope you could hear that. And what's so amazing about this young man is that here's this 15-year-old who, from our perspective, has lost everything, right? I mean, he's gone from being this great big physical athlete, and the first chance he gets to say something to anyone and to type anything out is to go through and type ready for anything. So I asked Kyrie what he wanted to do, and Kyrie came back and said, I want to go to school. And I want to be able to finish my high school degree. And so we went through and set him up and set up a system reliable enough for him with this AcuPoint system to do that. When Kyrie was going through and typing, if I kind of reverse this a little bit here, and let's see if I can find a spot that will, yeah. So what he's doing is there's some dots on his head, and as he moves his head a little bit, it's actually moving the cursor around on these letters that you can see on the side. And as he holds the cursor on each one of the letters, it dwells on that letter and then writes it into a text area right here. This is one of 3 software programs that come with our AcuPoint system. We like this because it's just really easy to do. It's a big keyboard, and it's a nice place to start to get some success early on. I want to show you one other video. This is going to be another gentleman using the same technology, but using it with an on-screen keyboard. And he's doing the same thing. He's moving his head, and the cursor is moving, but he's so efficient at it that you're going to have trouble telling that he's holding his head still because he's just really, really fast at it. So here we go.
Quality of life, when you're in the condition that I'm in a spinal cord injury situation, or multiple sclerosis, or even a traumatic brain injury, your quality of life is one of your most important aspects. And the quality of life that I have now that I'm able to do things independently and access information independently, not having to depend on people, that just makes me feel that much more as an individual. And I can take pride in what I do, and I can, like I said, just be as normal as I can. And that's the whole purpose in life, isn't it? To be as normal and capable of doing what you're able to do as much as you can do. And that's what I look forward to.
So that kind of gives you a sense of that particular guy is somebody who is going to school, he's finishing his master's degree. He uses computer access for about 8 to 10 hours a day. You can really impact someone's life. So when we look at the practical benefits of assistive technology, what ends up happening is that assistive technology is often the only way for people to be able to actually achieve their life goals. They need that to have that possibility. To maximize the opportunity for success, we want to use as many of the user's skills as possible in combination to ensure that when something doesn't go well, which happens often with computers, right? We couldn't figure out how to get the speakers to work correctly here. So you just have to have an alternate method. You have to have another way to get through that. And we've already talked about redundancy and efficiency. When we look at accessing a computer, there are actually two general categories that people talk about. They talk about scanning systems and they talk about direct select. People like to use, a lot of times practitioners like to use, assistive technology practitioners like to use scanning because it's usually easy to find a switch site. It's usually easy to set up. It's often not the best approach for the person that they're putting technology together for, but it's often it can be inexpensive, it's easy to set up, and that has advantages. It just has other shortcomings. We're not going to talk a lot about scanning today, so we're going to work more on direct select methods, which can often be more challenging to set up. It's often faster, and there are lots of examples. People can use a hand splint with a pencil and be able to select letters, head or mouth stick. I'm going to show you a quick video of one of the best head stick users I've ever seen. He just finished law school and is a practicing attorney now, cerebral palsy, but unbelievable what he can do with a head stick. And then there are other methods. Sometimes just a real simple key guard, which we'll talk about, or speech recognition, and then the more sophisticated techniques. But I want to show you this guy because it's just it's kind of fun. And here we go. So Ben is just, he's an amazing guy because with that head stick, he is able to achieve things that you and I would find difficult to do. In the little picture here, you can see him putting a CD into a CD player using a head stick. He is just really something. When people use a head stick or a mouth stick, one of the things that, or if they have gross arm movement but not fine hand movement to be able to select letters easily, one of the least expensive and we find to be very effective approaches is to go through and take a keyboard that's a smaller keyboard. So instead of having it be the normal size, this is a keyboard that's a little bit smaller, and then put a little plastic guard that you can see here over the letters so that in between each letter there's a little piece of plastic. And what that allows, or what that prevents, is it prevents somebody from hitting two keys at the same time. So when Ben comes down, when Ben comes down and actually tries to select a letter, if he misses a little bit, he'll hit the plastic piece, and then he can slide his head stick either to the left or to the right to get the letter that he wants. But it prevents him from hitting two keys. And that prevents mistakes. And one of the things that's a big killer of efficiency is mistakes. They've got to be corrected. So you make a mistake, now you've got to hit the correction keys correctly, and then you have to go back and get the one that you want. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of cognitive work to fix the mistakes. It interrupts, if you're trying to write, you're no longer thinking about writing but trying to correct your spelling. It can really make a big difference. And often it's a really low-cost, simple approach to being able to do things. Our latest keyboard is wireless, so that makes it easier to mount it in a good spot. And this is just a very inexpensive, good way of being able to minimize mistakes for somebody that has enough movement to be able to access the keys, but not good enough movement to prevent mistakes. It's really interesting to present to your computer. All right. Next thing I want to talk about is speech recognition. Dragon, naturally speaking, is my favorite speech recognition program for people with typical speech. It's one that we use with a lot of people. Many people can be successful with it. It's interesting in that it requires a different set of skills than just writing. There are some people who are really good when they think about what they write, and that they're able to compose in their head, and what comes out of their mouth or comes out on the keyboard is a relatively good draft the first time. Those people are really good at using speech recognition. For people like me, who the delete key is my favorite key, okay? And so what happens is that I start writing, and then I say, no, and I backspace, and I keep going back and forth. For people like me, speech recognition doesn't work well because I don't think very linearly. And I don't compose my text linearly. That makes speech recognition less effective. So when you're looking at using it with someone, some people are going to just take off with it, and some people are going to find it really challenging or impossible to use based on the way that they just think and compose things. So while speech recognition is inexpensive, you can buy Dragon, naturally speaking, now on Amazon for $55, something like that. It's cheap, and it's great in conjunction with other things, but realize that some people aren't going to use it well. Dragon is great for typical speakers. Microsoft speech recognition is generally considered to be not as good. I did some research for our presentation today, and I found some articles that showed that when somebody was doing dictation, they were getting about 89% accuracy. 89% accuracy means that 1 out of 11 words in your sentence is going to be wrong, so you have to go through and correct those words. One of the problems with speech recognition is that it doesn't misspell. So when a word is wrong in your sentence, there is no hint that it's wrong unless you read carefully and catch the fact that it substituted a word that might sound like what you said with what you meant to say, or what you wanted to convey to your readers. And because of that, it requires you have to be very careful. So see what you think about that. The other side of this is that we have a guy that we work with that has a very high cervical spinal cord injury. He's up at C2, and he's able to breathe on his own, and in the morning when he gets up, for about 4 hours he has good speech. Then his speech starts to decline, and as it declines, if he's using speech recognition, the only way that he has to correct mistakes that occur is with the same speech recognition software. And so the speech recognition software is not doing well, you're making mistakes, and now your way of correcting it is with speech recognition. So do you see how it's really important for people to have a secondary input method so that when one isn't working well, they have another way to be able to overcome the fact that their first method isn't working well. If they don't have that, then what ends up happening is it becomes very frustrating, and they give up on trying to achieve the things that are important to them. that's my spiel on Dragon Naturally Speaking, on the way that I really like speech recognition, but I really like it in combination with other things. I think as a access method by itself, without being combined with anything else, it can be problematic. InvoTek has spent many years working on a new speech recognition system for people with speech that's very difficult to understand. This technology is called SSR. Supplemented Speech Recognition is what it stands for. And what we've done is, as I've been talking about how important it is to combine access methods, well, we're starting to actually do that in the design of new assistive technologies. So the way that SSR works is that you type the first letter of the word that you want to say, or the word that you want to type, and then you say the word. So if I wanted to say, hi, my name is Tom, I would type the H, and then I would say hi, even if I had very poor speech, and SSR will recognize hi and put hi into the sentence. And then you would type M and say my, okay, and then N and say name, and SSR is going to go through and recognize those words and put them into the sentence. Using the first letter helps us to be able to know when someone's saying words and to not pay attention otherwise, and to also go through and get rid of co-articulation between words. If I feign having dysarthric speech and I say my name is Tom in a way that would be something that I can represent as dysarthria, I'm going to say my name is Tom. So it's my name is Tom. And when I say that, you're going to have a very hard time understanding. But if I go through and supplement that speech with first letters and first give you an M and then say my and then an N, nay, and then an I, is, all of a sudden you're going to have a much easier time being able to understand something. This is something speech-language pathologists have been doing for a long time. SSR now incorporates that into technology. And so what it allows people to do is reduce the amount of typing that they have to do to enter text by about 65 to 70%, depending upon how understandable they are. But we're talking about people with very difficult to understand speech. Some of the people we work with have less than 20% intelligibility. So if you were to listen to them, you would get 1 out of 5 words, which would make it very hard for you to figure out what they're saying. I want to show this to you. I've got a little video here of one of the people that we worked with using this, and I'm going to move the video to about 2 minutes. Let's see. Let me go through and move it over. So, and this is going to give you an idea of Katie doing it. Okay, so here we go.
How the system works.
So Katie's just said the milk is, and the rest of the sentence is going to be by the front door. And if you're watching the screen right here, you can watch SSR fill in the words. Katie types the first letter, then she says it through the microphone, and then it types the whole word. Now what we're really excited about with this technology is that the speech recognition guys that we collaborated with designed a whole new speech recognition engine for this. So this isn't like built on Dragon. This is actually a whole new speech recognition system. And the speech recognition system is smart enough to know what it doesn't know. So if you say a word that's not in its dictionary, instead of putting the wrong word in the sentence and making you correct it, what it does is it goes through and gives you a word prediction list across the top of the screen and says, was it one of these words? And so you can pick it off that way. So we've really worked hard to minimize the number of mistakes. And at this point, I am really wishing I could see your faces to see whether that made sense or not. But hopefully we'll get questions if it doesn't. So at this point we've talked about really simple things like, using a head stick and then putting a key guard on a keyboard, and that's one simple method. And then if you combine that with speech recognition, now that combination really gives somebody a way of being able to go through and have a lot of access, but also to be able to deal with problems should they come up. And then we showed you some speech recognition for people with dysarthria. So you don't even have to have good speech to be able to take care, to be able to use your abilities to the fullest. Now we're kind of moving one more level of complexity, and we're moving up that chain that I told you about, right? First start with your hands, and then your foot, and I didn't put speech in there, but that would have been a good thing to put in there, and then head. So now we're up at head tracking. When you look at head tracking technologies and you go on the Enablemart website, you're going to find that there are several choices. And I don't want to push. I want you to get the choice that makes the most amount of sense. So when you look at single dot, so we have two different types of head tracking technology, basically. And one is a one-dot tracker and the other one is a three-dot tracker. The one-dot tracker, you can see the little dot on this little boy's head, okay? And as he moves his head around, that cursor is going to move around with the head moving around, okay? This technology works really well for lots of people, okay? Where you get into trouble is when people are trying to do a real lot of work. So when you have somebody like George over here, George is using his computer for 8 to 10 hours a day. Our research shows that when you use a single dot tracker, it's kind of like using a mouse. You know how you move the mouse around on your desktop and eventually it kind of wanders off to the side and you have to sort of pick it up and move it back to the center? The cursor and the mouse position aren't really aligned with each other. And on single dot head tracking systems, when you go through, I'm going to move my cursor. If I'm moving, let's say the cursor is aligned with my head, I'll move it to the edge of the screen, okay, and then I get to the edge of the screen and my head keeps on moving. Now when my head starts to come back, the cursor immediately comes back and it's no longer aligned with my head. So what you'll see people do is you'll see them run the cursor around the screen, and when they stop in the middle, it makes the cursor come back to the middle. About a third of the head movements that people who use head tracking use are used to realign the cursor to their head so that they can control what's going on. Now, if you have good head tracking, if you have good head movement capabilities, and what you're doing is checking your email for 20 or 30 minutes a day, it's fine. It isn't going to make any difference. It's going to work well for somebody. But if you're like George, who was talking earlier, and you're trying to go to school, that inefficiency is going to really make the difference between whether you're going to be successful at going to school or not. If George is using the computer for 8 to 10 hours a day and we make him 30% less efficient, there are no longer enough hours in the day for him to be able to get his homework done. So the good news is that the three-dot tracking system, what it does is it keeps the cursor aligned with your head no matter what. You can literally look away from the screen, come back to the screen, and the cursor will still be aligned with your head. This is a big deal for people who have marginal head control, somebody that you're saying, all right, he's got head control, but gosh, he's just really having trouble making sure that he doesn't have some sort of a tick or something that causes his head to kind of spasm that goes off to the side, and then he comes back, and now the cursor's misaligned, and he can't figure out how to get it onto an on-screen keyboard. With AcuPoint, that doesn't happen. You can have a spasm off to the side, and you come back, and the cursor is still aligned with your head. If your head falls off to the side, and it's still pointed at the screen, well, it's just like having a stick stuck to your head. So if the stick is still pointing at the screen, the cursor isn't going to move. It's going to stay pointed in the center of the screen. That just really gives you efficiency, and it allows you to maintain that correlation between where your head is pointed and where the cursor is pointed, and that makes a difference to people in helping them to be fast. That video that I showed you of George, his dwell time, the amount of time that he spends dwelling on a key in order to be able to select it, is less than a half a second. That is really fast, okay? And I think it's that fast because what ends up happening is that he always calibrates the same way, and he starts to learn the motor movements for where the letters of the alphabet are on his board. because acupoint always stays aligned with your head, you start to learn those movements just like a basketball player becomes very good at being able to dribble a basketball. You first start doing it, you can't do it, but over time you practice it. It allows you to be able to practice those motor movements and become very good at it. And once you do that, it allows you to become much more efficient and faster at being able to do access. The last area that we're going to talk, I promised you that I would talk about, so if you're looking for a portable system, okay, then head mouse or any of the other single dot trackers are going to give you a small system that's going to fit on a laptop computer, and that's going to be a really good approach. Head mouse and I'm blanking on there's a lower cost version that I'm blanking on right on the moment, but you can buy single dot head tracking systems from anywhere in about the $500 to $1,000 range. They're on Enablemart's website, all of them, okay? If you go to the InvoTek system, it's about a $1,500 system. Instead of using one camera, which is what HeadMouse and other guys use, we end up using two cameras, and so there's additional costs in that, and that's just, so we're going to be a little bit more expensive. We're going to be more efficient. Depending on what the goals are of your client, you're going to pick the head tracking system that makes the most amount of sense for that person. All right, so now we're going to the most sophisticated level of assistive technology, and something that's really popular right now. Now, as a disclosure, InvoTek doesn't make an eye tracking system, but we are doing research on eye tracking systems, and we have spent quite a bit of time using them, and we have clients who have used eye tracking systems. People think that because you're just using your eyes, that eye tracking systems are easy to use because you don't have any movement, right? So as long as you just move your eyes around, and people think, well, I just select whatever I look at, so what could be easier than that? In actuality, eye tracking is extremely fatiguing because what ends up happening is all of a sudden you can't use your eyes for all the things that you normally use your eyes for. So you can't look around to see where you want to move the cursor because the cursor is going to move there with your eyes. And if you happen to look at something for a little while, it's going to select that. It seems like it would be less fatiguing and it would be easier, but in actuality, it's not. I was actually out visiting one of the Enablemart sales guys out in Salt Lake City, and I was really impressed by him because what he told me was that he actually had sat down and tried to play solitaire with an eye tracking system, and he was exhausted after 15 minutes. That is really a good indicator of the work that's required. Now, I'm not trying to bash eye tracking systems. If somebody only has eye movement, then I would go with an eye tracking system. But this kind of gives you a sense of why I'm recommending this hierarchy of approach where we go through and say, start with the hands, then move to speech, then move to head, then move to eyes, because once you use the eyes, you've really taken away all the other approaches. I hope that's helpful to you. The last technology that I want to talk about is something new that we've just come out with. It's a safe laser access system. It's a Bluetooth-based system, so it can connect to all sorts of different devices, including some of the new tablet devices, and it can be a computer or keyboard. When you plug it into a computer, it looks just like a regular keyboard. You can define the keys to be anything you want them to be, so it doesn't have to be an alphabetical layout. You can make it a QWERTY layout. You can use graphics as well as standard orthographic letters, whatever you want to do. There are two pieces to it. There's a laser pointer. This laser pointer has a little magnet on the back of it. You can use it with a headband. We've also mounted it to the back of people's hands for gross movement. So that what happens is someone will have a splint on their hand, they're able to move it back and forth, and they can point the laser at the laser keyboard and have really good access without having to have things positioned really well. This whole technology, one of the things that's really nifty about it is that here's a picture right now of one of our clients. He's got the laser, you can't really see it, mounted on his hand right over here, okay, and he's pointing it over to the keyboard here. Notice how easy it is to set this up. All right, the person doesn't have to be in front of it because they're pointing a laser, and so you can set it. It's easy to set up in bed environments. It's easy to set up. Here, Charlie's in his chair next to his desk. The keyboard's just set up on the side, and then as backup, he has one of the small keyboards. Plus, he's going through and using speech recognition, so he's using all three of those things, and that really gives him the flexibility to do the things that he wants to do, which he just became a pastor. He went to school for 2 years as part of our Be Extraordinary program and finished a degree in theology so that he could be pastor for a church. Okay. What's really interesting is that this idea of pointing a light is really very intuitive for people. We've used it with children that were as young as 2.5 years old, and we've also used it with people that have had brainstem strokes or locked-in syndrome. And so we're going to talk about that as well. So what makes the system unusual is that it provides good feedback for learning head movement. So moving your head around and moving the light around, it gives you really nice feedback. Moving a light's intuitive. There's a broad range of communication possibilities. This is one of the few augmentative communication devices, I think, that are or assistive technology devices that are out there, where you can go through and really start out being very, very easy to use by saying, let's do partner-assisted spelling. So if Charlie was new to doing this, what he would do is kind of move the light over to a particular letter. Let me go back here. Whoop. So if I'm using this and I'm somebody who's new to pointing, I might be getting close to the A, and then once I get to the A, because of the question you asked and everything else, you could interpret that point as being, oh, you wanted A. We wouldn't make people dwell on it, because what ends up happening is that they're early in their ability to be able to move their heads, or they're early in learning how to do this. They would make too many mistakes as they got close and are trying to sneak up on it, because they would hang on the B too long and get a B. So we don't want that. We want to wait until they get to A, right? So we would just do a human interpreted sort of pointing. But over time, you may want to go through and allow someone to say, this is my family. So they might do human interpreted sort of pointing here, but when they got up to this area, if they dwelled on this picture, it would go through and say, you know, here are my kids and my grandkids, for example. Okay? So you can set the system up to do dwell in some places, not do dwell in other places. You can use a secondary switch to be able to access it. There's a lot of different ways of being able to use it. It's relatively language independent, because you can define this overlay to be anything that you want it to be, so you can use letters or words or whatever you want to do. Although the word prediction that we have right now is something that doesn't allow us to be able to do multiple languages, so that's only in English right now. We also can control the TV and call light through this. Let's see. So what did I want to... There we go. All right, sorry. So I'm going to show you a quick video that's going to show you kind of all of those sort of things, and here we go. I'm going to slide this up just a little bit here. Yeah. Martin has a C2 spinal cord injury and is demonstrating the newest version of the InvoTek Safe Laser Access System, controlling an Android-based tablet wirelessly via Bluetooth. Watch as Martin searches the web for his favorite newspaper using a combination of the speech recognition built into the tablet and the laser keyboard.
Fort Smith, Southwest Times.
When Martin points the laser at the large laser sensing surface, the laser output switches from low power and eye-safe pulsing to a bright, constant laser light feedback that makes it easy for Martin to target keys. Martin selects the function by dwelling on the keys for a user-definable amount of time. Notice that when Martin moves off the keyboard, the laser immediately returns to pulsing, ensuring eye safety. Each time Martin selects a key using dwell, the laser blinks off 3 times to visually confirm the selection. Notice that Martin does not have to target a small sensor. The entire surface is laser sensing. So as long as the laser is anywhere within a key boundary, the system recognizes the presence of the laser and dwells as expected. Text entry is enhanced in this version of the Safe Laser system with built-in word prediction to minimize typing. Words are displayed on the bottom row of a 2-line LCD at the top of the system, but the angle of filming does not show the words well. The newest version of the Safe Laser system enhances the text-to-speech output of the tablet by amplifying the audio so that it can be clearly heard in most augmentative communication environments.
The weather is nice.
Finally, the new Safe Laser system has enhanced universal remote capabilities, enabling it to control TVs or perform other environmental control functions with the appropriate accessories. The Safe Laser keyboard is completely programmable via PC software and can store up to 15 overlays internally. It also provides up to 1 hour of digitized speech output. All right, so that kind of gives you, I hope, a nice overview of that particular technology. I want to show you some stuff that we did early on as we were working with our Safe Laser system. This was one of the first prototypes, and what we did is we used it to help people who were locked in to be able to learn head movement. And actually, this particular person that you see here is a gentleman by the name of Merle, and he was at the Madonna Rehab Hospital, and they just couldn't find a way into him. And so they tried this prototype of the Safe Laser system, and Merle could not operate it initially. But when they went through and tried to take it away from him, he got upset. And so they used a process of eye blinking to be able to go through and say, okay, what letters are you looking for, and to be able to spell out words. And he said, I want to practice with it. And very quickly, over the matter of a few days, he was able to go through and figure out how to start moving his head. So we said, well, wait a minute, I wonder if other people can do that too. So we went through and put together a research study with 7 different individuals, and you can read a little bit about each particular individual. But what I really want to show you is that as we did this and kind of went through multiple things, the results, which are on this page, 4 of the people, now these are people who are diagnosed as having locked-in syndrome. So these are people who, you know, some for as long as 18 years, people have said they cannot move their head. 4 of the 7 people learned to move their head well enough to be able to use it for some sort of augmentative communication. One of them, you know, does computer access with the laser. 2 of them moved to a Dynavox using a head mouse. So we're talking about substantial improvements when given the opportunity to have really good feedback as to what their head was doing. They learn to use the system. So that kind of gets me back to this idea of what I'm really excited about with the Safe Laser system is the wonderful feedback that it provides people and the ease of use for using it. Okay, so we're done. The takeaway message, I hope, rings true here that, you know, when we go through and give people reliable access, we can really impact their lives, and redundancy and efficiency are key for good access. And so if you can figure out multiple ways to get people into a device, that's really going to go through and help to make people successful. All right. At this point, I'm hoping that Jessica didn't fall asleep and she's still out there.
I'm here.
All right, good deal.
We do have some questions. Do you want me to read them off to you?
Sure. Yeah, let's do that so everybody knows which one we're addressing.
So here are some of the questions. So the first one is, how much training is needed to work with SSR? And that is Philip asking that question.
Yeah, Philip, that's a great question, and I neglected to talk about that. What ends up happening is that SSR requires that the user say 240 words 3 times. The system then goes through and trains and is able to recognize just over 600 words. You can then go through and add words, all right? So as the user speaks into the system and it gets more speech samples of words that it doesn't know, you can go through and retrain, and it'll say, oh, here are 15 words that you said multiple times that I didn't know. I'll add those to the dictionary. So it will learn. Okay, but initially the system does require a fair amount of training, and so SSR is not a it's a system that requires some investment on the front end in order to be able to use it well. And I appreciate you bringing that up. That's an important point.
Aaron would like to know, what's the advantage of purchasing a head mouse Extreme versus using the free camera mouse application?
You know, when I've used the camera mouse application, I don't find that those things work particularly well. And when we're dealing with people with severe disabilities, when we give them an access method that isn't as reliable as I think it needs to be, then what we do is we expect them to be able to compensate for problems or inefficiencies with the way that the software works, or what do you do when it crashes. There's just a whole host of things that occur. I find head mouse and other products, there's a Medentech product as well, Tracker Pro, something like that. Those have really been designed with people with disabilities in mind, and I think it shows. I think that there's a significant difference in those products versus camera mouse or Natural Point, which is a gaming system. I'm not bashing those other products. I think they have a place, but I think there's a significant difference when you work with products that are really designed from the perspective of people thinking about, okay, this is going to be somebody's access method. How do we make sure that it works well in multiple lighting environments, that there aren't weird things that are going on? I find there to be a big difference.
So we have about 5 minutes left. We do have quite a few questions here, but I'm going to keep going. So can AcuPoint be used on a dual monitor system that some people need for their job? Yeah, no, absolutely, and we do that a lot because I really like the extra space that it gives people to be able to work, and so, no, absolutely, and we've done it a lot, and it works really well. And we have few comments. The laser access system is way cool. I can think of a couple students who can benefit.
Great.
Another question from Lisa is, I can move my left thumb about 1/8 of an inch. I use both Dragon, naturally speaking, in Microsoft built-in voice recognition, and deeply understand VR strengths and limitations. No head mice would probably work for me if my head is in a fixed position. Any suggestions?
Yeah, call me, and let's talk. No, because I mean it's going to be really hard to do it any other way. But you know, I love those kind of calls. If you have people that you're working with that you're struggling with, call me, and I will do my very best to help you figure out what technologies are out there and what we might be able to do to help make those things work out better.
So I'll make sure we connect offline on that, and we'll go over like a personalized, kind of customized.
Right. Yeah. My stuff's on the screen right now, so feel free to write it down, or I'd be happy to.
Okay. And we'll get that out. So what's the price range of laser access system? Aaron wants to know.
Yeah, it's just under $3,000. Good question. I should have told you that as well.
We have, is the SSR only available in English? That is from Mauricio.
Yeah, unfortunately it is. Because it's such a custom speech recognition system, it is available only that way. Hey, you know, one thing I forgot to tell you is that while if you're buying the system, you know, buying it, any of our systems, you can buy them directly from Enablemart, but we also have a program called the AT Passport program that allows you to be able to use technology for a very low monthly fee. All of our products are under $50 per month, and so it gives you a chance to be able to use it for a little while, try it, prove you can use it, and then try to find funding agencies that'll help you buy it through Enablemart. Those are things that, just so you're aware, we do have those kind of programs available through our company.
Can any of the pointing devices be used with swipe?
Yeah. That's an interesting question because I'm thinking not, because we're actually doing some research in that area to try and make gesture-based inputs available to people. The problem is that you'd have to be able to sort of hold down a key and hold it down for a long time. You can do click and hold, so on all of the systems, so you would be able to go through and click and hold, but I haven't tried specifically using swipe. I will get one of the guys in the office to try that. Give me a call in a day or two, or make it early next or middle of next week, and I'll have an answer for you.
Okay. And we'll send out a follow-up on that to the attendees once we know. So, do you have a loaner trial program for the Safe Laser? Asks Carrie.
Yeah, Carrie, we do, and that's that AT Passport program I was telling you about. For $50 a month, you can use it for as long as you want to use it, and we find that people do really well at sort of proving they can use it, and then finding funding is a whole lot easier. So, absolutely.
Philip wants to know, with SSR, is there a USB version to use on different computers?
Yes. Yeah, the software can move to any, well, we can help you with that. There is an SSR box, and so the box can move from computer to computer, but we'd have to make sure that your training files got moved from computer to computer. So we could help you do that, but it's not as straightforward as if you've got multiple users, it works out great. If you've got one user on multiple computers, then we'd have to figure out how to maintain training files well, and our software guys can help with that.
Okay, is there any other questions? Those are all the ones that I have posted in front of me. Is there any other questions at this time?
Who won the Word Psychic?
Okay, so time for the big Word Psychic drawing, and I was kind of waiting. We had some people dropping off, and I was waiting to see who would last, because they will be the ones that will win. And it was, I just did the drawing right now, and so that would be Amanda Gordon. Amanda, are you still there? I see that you are still logged in. Hopefully you're still paying attention now that we've said your name. Yes, I am.
Yes, I
see
am.
her. There she is. So Amanda has won the Word Psychic, but I will. So Amanda, I'll email you. I have your contact information. I'll email you separate with how to redeem that. And everybody will get a recording to the videos and the presentation, and we'll answer the swipe question, and we'll get Lisa in touch with a personalized person, and it'll be good. So is there anything else? If anybody has any other questions, we have Tom's contact information, and we'll be sending out the follow-up email, so you can just reply back, right, to the email, and let us know what other questions you have. So, okay, well, thank you, everybody, and I'm seeing a lot of thanks. This was wonderful and very informative. So, Tom, I think you did a wonderful job, and appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much for everybody that took the time to listen. I really appreciate it, and I hope you'll let us know if we can help in any way.
All right, everyone have a great holiday weekend. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.